A retired factory worker in Pittsburgh once managed to survive on just a few dollars a week for groceries. For years, he cooked the same simple meal in a single pot, night after night. When his doctor later reviewed his medical tests, the results were surprisingly strong for someone his age. The food that sustained him appears later in this countdown. Across America, there were thousands of similar kitchens, quiet apartments, small homes with one light on above the stove. Tables that once held large families now set for only one plate. Many seniors learned how to stretch a limited income and limited energy into meals that could last several days. Before we begin counting them down, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy learning about forgotten meals and the real history behind everyday cooking. These 25 meals were never designed for fancy restaurants or glossy cookbooks. They were created for survival. They fed people living alone, people trying to make a fixed income last through an entire month, people who needed something warm and filling without complicated preparation. Every meal on this list follows the same rule: simple ingredients, one pot, and enough nourishment to keep someone going. Number 25 is tomato and bread soup. This dish was often made when the pantry looked nearly empty. A person only needed stale bread, a can of tomatoes, a little garlic, and water. The bread was torn into chunks and dropped into a pot with crushed tomatoes and garlic. After simmering for about 20 minutes, the bread softened and dissolved, creating a thick stew-like soup. A small pinch of salt and a drizzle of oil was often enough seasoning. Immigrant communities brought versions of this soup into crowded city apartments during the early 20th century. The ingredients were inexpensive and the preparation required very little effort. It became a reliable supper for people who needed something warm without spending much money. Number 24 is potato and onion stew. In many Appalachian homes, this was considered one of the most dependable meals. Potatoes and onions were sliced and simmered in water with a bit of butter or leftover cooking fat. As the potatoes softened, they naturally thickened the broth into something creamy without adding dairy. The flavor came mostly from the onion and the richness of the fat used in the pot. For someone living alone, it required very little work and only a few inexpensive ingredients that kept well for long periods. Number 23 is ham bone and bean soup. Families who understood scarcity learned never to waste anything. After a ham had been eaten, the remaining bone was saved for soup. Dried navy beans were soaked overnight and then simmered in a pot with the ham bone, onion, and a few vegetables. During several hours of slow cooking, the beans became soft and creamy, while the bone released smoky flavor into the broth. The result was thick, hearty, and filling. A single pot could provide several meals across the week. Number 22 is cabbage and sausage stew. A head of cabbage and a few pieces of smoked sausage were often enough to create an entire dinner. The cabbage was chopped into large pieces while the sausage was sliced into rounds. Everything simmered together in water until the cabbage softened and absorbed the flavor of the sausage. This dish appeared in many immigrant kitchens across the Midwest and northern cities. It crossed cultural boundaries because the ingredients were cheap and easy to find. Number 21 is rice and canned chicken stew. Some meals were designed for situations when fresh food was unavailable. Canned chicken, rice, and a can of condensed soup were placed into a pot with water and cooked together until the rice softened. Because the chicken was already cooked, there was no need to handle raw meat. The meal came together quickly and required little preparation. For people living far from grocery stores, pantry meals like this offered independence during long winters or bad weather. Number 20 is basic chili with beans. This version of chili was simple and practical. Ground beef was browned in a pot, then combined with canned tomatoes, kidney beans, chili powder, and salt. After about 30 minutes of simmering, it became a thick stew that tasted even better the next day. Many people cooked a large batch on the weekend and reheated portions throughout the week. Number 19 is egg drop soup. This meal required only broth and eggs. Once the broth reached a boil, beaten eggs were slowly poured in while stirring the liquid. The eggs cooked instantly into thin ribbons that floated through the soup. It was quick, gentle on the stomach, and comforting during illness or fatigue. For seniors with little appetite, it provided warmth and protein in just a few minutes. Meals like these were never about culinary trends. They were practical answers to everyday problems. Cooking for one person can feel discouraging, especially when energy is limited and the kitchen feels quiet. One-pot meals helped solve that problem because they reduced effort and dishes while still providing real nourishment. Number 17 is lentil and carrot stew. Lentils cook faster than most dried beans and do not require soaking. A pot containing lentils, chopped carrots, onion, and water slowly thickens into a hearty stew within about 30 minutes. The ingredients are inexpensive, yet rich in protein and fiber. Many households relied on lentils for their nutritional value long before the word superfood became popular. Number 16 is corn chowder. Canned corn made it possible to cook this soup any time of year. A diced potato was simmered in water until tender. Then creamed corn, whole corn kernels, and milk were added to create a sweet, thick soup. Because creamed corn already contains starch, it naturally thickens the mixture without complicated steps. Number 15 is black-eyed pea stew. In many southern kitchens, dried black-eyed peas were simmered with a smoked ham hock, onion, and tomatoes. The peas softened and absorbed the smoky flavor from the meat. The result was a tangy, filling stew that could last for several meals. Served over rice, it stretched even further. Number 14 is one-pot beef and macaroni. Ground beef was browned in a pot and then combined with elbow macaroni, tomato sauce, and water. The pasta cooked directly in the same pot as the meat and sauce. After about 15 minutes, the mixture became a hearty dish, similar to a simple casserole. Leftovers reheated easily and often tasted better the next day. Many of the foods on this list share something important in common. They rely on ingredients that have remained inexpensive for generations. Beans, rice, potatoes, cabbage, onions, and canned tomatoes. These ingredients are not glamorous, but they provide the foundation of countless traditional meals. Number 13 is chicken and dumplings. Inexpensive chicken pieces were simmered with vegetables until tender. Small spoonfuls of dough were then dropped into the broth and allowed to cook into soft dumplings. The dumplings absorbed the flavor of the broth and created a thick, comforting dish. Number 12 is split pea soup. Split peas were cooked with a ham bone and vegetables until they broke down into a thick green soup. This dish was once common in cafeterias and community kitchens because it was both cheap and nutritious. Number 11 is salmon patties with gravy. Canned salmon was mixed with crushed crackers and egg to form patties. After frying them in a skillet, a simple gravy was made in the same pan, using the remaining drippings, flour, and milk. The patties were returned to the skillet to finish cooking in the gravy. Number 10 is navy bean soup. Dried navy beans simmered with onion and celery eventually created a creamy soup without needing dairy. This dish has been served in institutional kitchens for generations because it is filling and inexpensive. Number 9 is tuna noodle pot. A can of tuna, egg noodles, condensed soup, and sometimes peas were cooked together in one pot. The noodles absorbed the creamy soup and created a comforting meal that required little preparation. Number 8 is potato soup. Diced potatoes and onion were simmered in water until soft. Some of the potatoes were mashed directly in the pot to thicken the soup. Milk and butter added richness, creating a soft, easy-to-eat meal. Many people living alone discover that cooking large, complicated meals becomes difficult over time. Simple recipes that can be prepared with minimal effort help maintain independence and regular eating habits. Number 7 is sausage and white bean stew. Sliced smoked sausage was simmered with white beans and tomatoes. Sometimes spinach or greens were added near the end for extra nutrients. The flavors blended into a hearty stew in about 20 minutes. Number 6 is vegetable beef soup. Stew meat was browned in a pot and then cooked with leftover vegetables and canned tomatoes. This meal often served as a way to use produce before it spoiled. Every batch tasted slightly different depending on what vegetables were available. Number 5 is red beans and rice. Dried red beans were cooked slowly with sausage, onion, celery, and pepper. After several hours, the beans became creamy and flavorful. Served over rice, the dish provided a complete and satisfying meal. Number 4 is depression stew. Ground beef, canned tomatoes, corn, and diced potatoes simmered together to form a thick stew. The potatoes released starch that thickened the broth, while the corn added sweetness. A pot of this stew could last several days and required only basic ingredients. Number 3 is chicken and rice pot. Chicken thighs were browned in a pot before rice and broth were added. As the rice cooked, it absorbed the flavorful liquid while the chicken became tender. The entire meal finished in the same pot within about 30 minutes. Number 2 is pinto beans with cornbread. Dried pinto beans simmered slowly with salt pork or ham until tender. Cornbread baked in a skillet provided the perfect companion for soaking up the flavorful broth. Number 1 is chicken soup. A whole chicken simmered with carrots, celery, onion, and salt produces a golden broth and tender meat. This dish has appeared in countless cultures because of its nourishing qualities and comforting aroma. A single pot can provide multiple meals while filling the home with warmth. Meals like these remind us that cooking does not need to be complicated or expensive. Simple ingredients prepared with care can provide nourishment, comfort, and independence even in the quietest kitchens. If you enjoyed learning about these forgotten one-pot meals, remember to like the video and subscribe for more stories about traditional foods that shaped everyday life.